a video all about the O-1B Extraordinary Ability Visa and the requirements for the O-1B visa. My name's Fiona McEntee. I've been an immigration attorney for 16 years and I love helping people with their O-1B visas. If you've heard about the O-1 visa, you may know that there's two different types of O-1s. This video is specific to the O-1B visa, which is a visa for people with extraordinary ability in the arts, which is just as broad as that, right? The arts, so think creative fields or motion picture or TV. So let's break down how you prove that you have extraordinary ability in one of these, either the O-1B specific to motion picture TV or to the arts. So there's 6 potential boxes that you can check to show that you have extraordinary ability to qualify for the O-1B. So we're going to kind of go through the 6 of these, and it's also possible to show if for some reason the criteria doesn't fit your position or your industry. We can also use comparable evidence instead of checking, 3 of the 6 boxes. So ideally we want to check though 3 of the 6 boxes and maybe more, but that's specific advice that would be needed based on your case. Okay, so what are the boxes? Let's go through them one by one. Number 1, we need to show that you have performed and will perform, so in the past and will in the future, services as a lead or starring participant in distinguished productions or events. So it's a bit of a mouthful, but I just call this one distinguished productions or events. Okay, let's break it down. So we need to show that you have had a lead or starring role in the past in distinguished productions or events and that you're going to in the future. So how do we do that? Well, we need to show that, for example, it depends really on your industry, but one of the things that we can show is if you are in, let's say, motion picture TV, that you've had a principal role in an event or a production. So that's for leading. A starring role would be, as the government says, a position of great prominence relative to others in the event or production. And how do we show the distinguished nature of a production? Well, we could look at things like critical reception, high attendance, commercial success, or other indicators that show the distinguished nature of the production. We also need to do that for future events as well. So how would we do that? Well, advanced publicity, endorsements, other evidence regarding the anticipation of the event. So, the government though does say that the evidence relating to future events might be limited because obviously it hasn't happened yet. So the government can, they can consider other factors such as the reputation of similar past events or productions by the same individuals or teams, like who else is involved and kind of showing that. And then in assessing whether your role is leading or starring, the government will look to see whether your role is highlighted or featured in advertisement, publicity, releases, other types of materials. And it's important to note that we don't need to show that you will have a lead or starring role in specific US events or productions. So we could show that you had performed and will perform a role either within or outside the US. So like all of this is lots of info related to this, but really when you break it down, we want to show that your role has been lead or starring in distinguished productions or events. So a lot of times we work with people, content creators, influencers. So think of events or productions that you have done with various brands. If you've done either, physical events or online events, different productions, campaigns, things like that. And if you've had a leading role with them, that could be something that would be great to check this box. And it's also written in the plural. So we want to have more than one production or event, and again, past and future. Okay, so that's box number 1. I'm going to skip down to the box that in the regulatory criteria, it's written later, but it's kind of very closely related to this one. So I'm going to discuss this next. And this is what I call the distinguished organizations or establishments. Okay, so it sounds quite similar to the distinguished productions or events, but it is slightly different. So for this one, we want to show that you, again, have and will perform in a lead, starring, or critical role for distinguished organizations and establishments. Now it does say it differs to the other one that we just mentioned, which is productions and events, but it's actually quite similar. So again, we're looking at the type of role that you've had, lead, starring, critical role. For critical, we would look to show that your role has contributed or will contribute in a way that's significantly important to the company's, activities. Whether your role is integral or important to it. And we can get detailed letters to kind of show how important your role has been. And again, we also need to show the distinguished nature of the company. So the way I like to think about this is, you can use one piece of evidence to check more than one box. So for example, let's say that you're an influencer, content creator, and you've been hired by a household name brand to work on a campaign for them, their New Year's healthy, whatever campaign. So you're a lead or starring participant, you're a content creator for them, and you are, contributing to their New Year's production or event. So that is the event of the production, but it's also being put on by a distinguished company or organization. So, you can potentially use the evidence relating to that to check more than one box. Think of it also like a band, like a musician that's been hired to play at a big music festival. So the event is the music festival, it's leading, it's distinguished, but it's also probably put on by distinguished organizations as well. So when you start to kind of pick apart the evidence, it can be possible to use one event or one piece of evidence to check more than one box. Okay, so that is the distinguished organizations and establishments box. Okay, so there's the first two. The next is showing that you've achieved national or international recognition for achievements as evidenced by critical reviews or other published material. So this is kind of press, really. So we're showing that there's press about you and your achievements. You don't have to be the only subject of the piece. But it really should be about you. So for example, if the piece talks about the production as a whole, but it includes a discussion of your work, then that could be considered to be about you. So that's a good thing to know. And then we also want to look at the type of publication as well. It needs to be major newspapers, trade journals, magazines, or other publications. So, we need to kind of really focus on pieces that meet that requirement. I think if there's really small blogs or regional publications or, I wouldn't include those. I'm selective about the media or pieces that I include because you want to really put your best foot forward and make sure that you're picking pieces that have high circulation and that are really going to put your case in the best light. So that's the press. So there's the first three. The next one is evidence that you have a record of major commercial or critically acclaimed successes. We can show this by title, rating, standing in the field, box office receipts, other types of, stats to essentially show commercial critically acclaimed success. So, we can show really, this is all about statistics, like it could be streaming stats, it could be box office receipts, sales figures, it could be top charts, things like that to show that you have had commercial success. Also critically acclaimed success. So that would be like reviews from critics, peers, things like that as well to show some public facing positive praise, reviews, things like that, depending on the field. That might be relevant as well. The next is what I call the expert recognition category. So we need to show that you've achieved or received significant recognition for your achievements from organizations, critics, government agencies, other recognized experts in the field. So we can submit here testimonial letters that outline the experts, why the person should be, their opinion should be listened to. So establishing that they are an expert. And then kind of them talking about your achievement and how you've essentially received significant recognition. So we can also use, if you've gotten, awards or other types of recognition, we could pop them in here as well to show how that, the receipt of awards or other types of recognition satisfies this criterion, which is basically, an indicator that you have received significant recognition. So that is the fifth one. And then the final one is evidence that you have either commanded a high salary in the past or will command a high salary or a significant remuneration in the future. So again, this is a yardstick, because something is high is only high if it's higher compared to others. So we kind of need to look at maybe, average wages for the position and try to see if you're significantly higher than that. If you've gotten like once-off contracts for certain things that are significantly higher, we could use that as well. So yeah, there's potential to look at, compensation outside of just like, oh, I make X amount a year, and perhaps see if getting paid, high contract price for like for videos or whatever it is, we can kind of break that down and perhaps use it in that way. So this is the high salary or significant remuneration. So that's the O-1B criteria, 1 through 6. Ideally, we're showing that you can meet 3 of these. If you can't, we can potentially submit comparable evidence to check these boxes. Hope this was helpful. If you have any specific questions, pop them below, or feel free to get in touch with us and we can give you advice about your O-1B visa.